What is good, everybody? Good morning. Sorry, I guess you guys got the outro. That's what I get for doing an early morning stream here. And yes, you guys are correct. If it sounds like I just woke up, if it looks like I just woke up, I just woke up. So, yes, we are going to be getting some caffeine into our system this morning. We're going to be answering some fantasy football questions. Um, really just trying to get this thing going, man. It is a long day of football ahead of us, and we got a lot of questions to answer. So if you got some questions, some start sits, whatever you got, throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. We got about an hour until we get to the London game where we got Chicago and Jacksonville. So if you got those questions, throw them in the chat. We'll just chill for a minute. We'll throw some music on. We'll hang out. But you got about an hour of my time until that game. So I see we got Steve in the chat. Steve, my guy. We're picking one flex between Cooper, Tolbert, and Slayton. And for me, I'm assuming that this is a PPR league. So if we're assuming that it's PPR, for me in my rankings right now, I have Amari Cooper listed as my wide receiver 27. I got Jalen Tolbert as my wide receiver 35. And Darius Slayton I got as the wide receiver 37. So I would be going with Amari Cooper. Luke, my guy, he says, just getting off work and my boy is hitting with the early morning stream. You love to see it. We are just hitting the early morning stream. You can hear the early morning in the voice right now. Maybe it's also a little bit. My wife got sick this last week, so I think she's starting to pass it on to me. So unfortunately, that's just the way that things go. But you can see it. Steve says yes, PPR. So yeah, okay. Then I would be going with Cooper still in my lineup over those guys. Now I got to ask you guys, do you guys dislike the London games as much as I do? I think the London games are kind of a pain in the ass for the Americans. I'm not gonna lie. I know it's done by the NFL because they want to kind of expand the brand, introduce more international fans to the sport. But at the end of the day, we're watching American football, and your whole audience is in the United States of America, and you're doing London games, and people on the West Coast, I'm sitting here complaining like, we got an early morning game here on the East Coast. The West Coast, you got to wake up like 5:30, 4:30 in the morning if you want to watch it maybe. It's tough, man. It is tough. Brando says, yo, what's up, buddy? What's up with you, Brando? RSG says, appreciate you getting up early to help with the early game questions. You love to see it. Brando, nope. Doesn't hate the London games. Loves the London games. And then Crater says, full PPR, you need an RB2 lottery ticket. Justice Hill or Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby's the better lottery ticket, I'm not going to lie. Luke says, they're always bad and the field is always rough. This is what I said last time too. I think the time travel is tough on the players. The fields are always hard to watch. I don't know. Brando says, I like being able to watch football at a reasonable time. Yeah, look, Brando, I think because you're in the UK, right? You said you're like an hour away from the stadium, so, you're near London. It makes sense for you. Maybe I'm being the selfish one, but I'm like, damn, dude, I don't get to watch football at a reasonable time. Steve says, start Chase Brown or Ford. Chase Brown over Ford for me this week. Imagine being American and not being able to watch the late games because you got to go to bed. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Even on the East Coast sometimes, dude. Like, even the other week when we had the Steelers and, what was it? Steelers and Cowboys. And that was the rain delay. It was like 2 rain delays or something like that. 3 rain delays in that game. I was like, East Coast, we're not starting this game till 10. I ain't watching this. I'm not watching this game. Like, I'm going to try and watch as much as I can, but that was the first London game of the year too, so we were up early, watching that game, and my Vikings were in London, so I got to, I really had to wake up early to watch all those games, and I wasn't staying up to watch Justin Fields throw for 130 yards, and it was a bad decision because it turned out that Justin Fields actually had a good game, and that one went down to the wire. They threw the touchdown to Jalen Tolbert, but whatever. Brando says 12:30 p.m. start is, or 2:30 p.m. start is nice. I'm sure it is. Andre says morning to you, Andre. Appreciate you being here, dude. Lance, pick 2 in PPR. You got Downs, Dobbins, and Kirk. And if I'm not mistaken, I watched I saw something that said Evan Engram is not, or is good to go, active to go. So that kind of makes me down on Christian Kirk this week. Dobbins' matchup is fine. Downs, fine. Have we got an official word as to whether or not we're gonna have Anthony Richardson? I haven't heard an official word. Here's the thing. I think Dobbins is probably the safest. If Joe Flacco is the one under center, Downs is the best play. But if Anthony Richardson is under center, I want to go with Dobbins. So I would throw Dobbins in the lineup for now, but if later today we get word that Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback for the Colts, I would switch it to Josh Downs. But for now, plug in Dobbins. Michael says, morning, boys. Morning, Andrew. Morning to you, Michael. Brando says, I can't wait to move back just to be able to watch sports in normal town. Love to see it. What other sports do you watch, Brando? I know we all talk football here 24/7, but what other stuff are you watching? Shane says, hey, buddy. Good morning, Shane. You're up very early over there on the West Coast. Brando says, back to the States. Andre says, Pollard or ETN, full PPR. It feels so weird questioning starting a second-round pick, but here we are. For me, it's going to be Tony Pollard, man. Tony Pollard is a start of the week for me. I really like the matchup. ETN in that London game, it feels rough. Full PPR wise though, let me just pull up my rank so I can tell you kind of how big the gap is, because I don't think the gap is as small as you think. I have Tony Pollard as my RB7 on the week. I have Pollard very high on the week in full PPR, and then for me, I have Travis Etienne all the way at 18. So I see a pretty substantial gap. We're talking about a running back 1 versus running back 2 play this week. So for me, I would be going with Tony Pollard. RSG says full PPR, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Flex Bucky or Brian Thomas Jr. Other wide receivers in the lineup are Ayuk, Moore, and Deontay Johnson. I love Brian Thomas Jr., and I think his matchup is really good. Let me rephrase that one. It's the early morning for you. I like Brian Thomas Jr. I think his matchup is really bad. I don't like the Jalen Johnson matchup for Brian Thomas Jr. Bucky Irving with no Rachaad White is interesting, and I think if you're looking for a flex, I think there's a chance that you just play Bucky this week. You lean on the higher floor in this matchup and the chance that he falls into the end zone. So I think playing Bucky Irving here is what you probably do, despite Brian Thomas being the more talented player. Let's see. Brando, Christian Kirk, Keenan Allen, or Michael Wilson, full PPR. For me, it would be between Christian Kirk and Michael Wilson. I think I lean Christian Kirk, but just barely. Just barely. Connor says full PPR. You got Hopkins or Javonte. I like Javonte more in this situation. Steve says Njoku or Freiermuth. Again, I'm assuming this is full PPR. It does sound like that's what you're playing. So I would probably be going with Freiermuth here in this situation over Njoku. Brando says NFL, NBA, some college ball. That's mainly it. Makes sense. That's about what I'm watching too. You know, I got the Lakers stuff over here. I'm a Lakers fan. I'm from Las Vegas. So growing up, we didn't have a basketball team. The closest basketball team to us, we always got the Los Angeles TV channels. So I was watching Kobe Bryant growing up 24/7, 365. Like, that's my guy. So Lakers fan for me. Football wise, you guys already know, but it's pretty much what I watch. I watch NFL, NBA, and college football, and that's about it. So I'm the same. Shane says Calvin Ridley or Antonio Gibson. I wouldn't mind throwing Gibson out there, you know, getting the starting the job. I wouldn't mind throwing him out there and seeing what we can get out of him this week. Alex says, good morning. I have Gibbs starting. Should I plug in ETN or Monty? Full PPR. I have a feeling Bigsby might not have the same game as last week. Monty, 2 touchdown relevant. Honestly, I love having Gibbs in the starting lineup, and I love having Monty in the starting lineup. If I were going to be picking the two, because I'm assuming you're saying that Gibbs is the RB1 and you need to pick the RB2 between ETN and Monty, I'm just going double Lions. I'm going Gibbs and Monty in the lineup and calling it a day. That's what I would do. So, Zub, Caleb Williams or Baker Mayfield, half PPR. Baker has been great, but has a tough matchup. Caleb has been heating up and has the easiest matchup on paper. Yeah, I think for me, I'd go with Caleb Williams in this situation this week. Dollar Bill says Slayton, Wicks, or Sermon at the flex. I like Slayton the most if Christian Watson plays. If Christian Watson does not play, it's Dontavion Wicks for me. AJ says morning, full PPR, rank Tracy, Najee, Mixon, and Shaheed. Okay, assuming they are all healthy, they are all playing, I would be going with Mixon, Najee, Tracy, Shaheed in that order. Josiah says go Pack go. That's the weekly occurrence, or I guess the everyday occurrence in the live stream. I love it, Josiah. Appreciate you repping. Great day for some football, damn straight. You know, I gotta wake up a little bit more. Gotta get some Dayquil, some medicine in my system so I can, you know, get a little bit more alert around here. But definitely a great day for some football for sure. Steve says Ingram or Kraft today. I would lean with Ingram. I would lean with Kraft. I don't like Ingram's matchup against the Bears. Kraft, he has a solid matchup here this week, so I would be going with Kraft. Second question, half PPR, Tyrone Tracy or Austin Eckler? Tyrone Tracy for me here in this situation. Ingram or Ridley? That one's tough. It's hard for me to kind of trust Evan Ingram this week off the extended absence. Tough matchup overseas in Chicago or against Chicago in London. I think I go with Ridley, even though I don't love the idea of starting Ridley this week. It's just Yale. Good morning. I have Brock Bowers in my tight end spot. I also have Tucker Kraft, so I decided to put him in my flex spot. Is that a good move? I have Pittman Jr. and Amari Cooper on the bench. I have Brock Bowers, and I also have Tucker Kraft. No, that's not a bad move. It's a solid move. I think there's an argument here that if Pittman is so sketchy because he went from, being on IR or trending towards being on IR to now he's playing, and that in itself is so sketchy. But I think if Flacco is under center, there's a chance that we could possibly be wanting to play Pittman over Kraft, but I think right now the way you have it, Tucker Kraft in the flex spot is fine. I need to look at this Anthony Richardson. Is Anthony Richardson playing? Let's see. The Indianapolis Colts are expected to get starting quarterback Anthony Richardson back in action in Week 6. So, sounds like Richardson is back, and if that's the case, yeah. I'm throwing Pittman on the bench. So, there you have it. I see Flamingo says Olave, J-Mo, Moss, Dobbins, or Najee. Burrow or Fields in a PPR league. Good morning. I'm going with J-Mo. And I guess we're only picking one, right? We're only picking one. So it would be J-Mo for me over all those guys. And then Fields or Burrow. Let's look at where I have them in my rankings. I'm going to go with Burrow. I have him as a top 5 play this week, so let's go with Burrow. So Burrow and J-Mo. Luke says, did you watch my Ducks beat Ohio State? Dude, I didn't watch it last night. I was playing some video games with my brother, my wife, and actually both my brothers and my wife. We were playing some video games together, and I look down at my phone, and I get the ESPN notification of, the Ducks upset Ohio State. and looked like it was a really good game. And I even said to my brother, because my brother's a football fan as well, I was like, damn, dude, we missed a good-ass game. Why were we not watching that game, bro? So, no, I didn't get to watch it, but it sounded like it was pretty damn electric, not going to lie. That slide at the end, though, I saw some of the highlights at the end. Like, that slide was insane. What were you doing? Julian says Devonta Smith or Marvin Harrison Jr. I would go with Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm playing Marvin Harrison Jr. in this lineup, but if I can find a way to get Devonta in the lineup, you need to get him in the lineup too, because both of these plays should be great this week. But Marvin would give, he would be my first choice of the two. Andre says, any pick'ems for the London game? I don't have any right now. Let's go look. Actually, we can do something real quick. Hold on. Let's do something here for a second. Bang! You see that? Now I can't actually place it. I just wanna say, Andre, I can't actually place it because I'm in Jersey. I have to place these when I go to New York to the BDGE office. But we're looking at this London game. I would say, you want to look at Chicago. Let's see that one. We got a lot of Caleb Williams, a lot of DJ Moore. Let's see what I like here. We'll build this out for just a quick second. And while I'm building this out, I'll keep answering questions, folks. Steve says, Daniel Jones or Richardson? Is this really where we're at? I guess this is where we're at. I'm going to go Daniel Jones, I guess. So I want to try and find something here, Andre, for DJ Moore. I think we want to try and find... Remind me again, what do they go with the fantasy points? Half PPR? Receiving yards? I want to find something here that I like. It might just be the first quarter, getting that 9.5 there. I definitely want to have... I like the Swift touchdown. And then if we were going to go with, let's see, Jacksonville. Something tells me we need to look at, where's Brian Thomas? I want to go with the under on Brian Thomas receptions, depending on where they're at. 4.5. I won't even let us go under. That might be something for me, Andre. That might be something right here. If you want to do these three, I like the Tank Bigsby rushing attempts. I like the Swift touchdown. I like the DJ Moore first quarter receiving yards. I think those three, those are just the ones that spoke out to me early. Again, take that with a grain of salt. We just did that off the whims right here. We didn't even do, a ton of research. But off the vibes of my fantasy analysis this week, this is what I would be doing, something like this. But all right, folks, if you keep having questions, more than happy to answer these. Throw those questions in the chat. Luke says 12-team super flex. You start 2. Cousins, Mayfield, Herbert. We're going Cousins and Mayfield in that situation there. I'm looking at my team right now. I got some London guys going, I think. My home league, I got I guess nobody. already at League Mates, the BDG guys. I got DeAndre Swift rolling in this one, so yeah. Should I take the Packers or Broncos defense? The Chargers defense is also open to take. I think I don't love the Packers defense matchup. I don't really love even the Broncos or the Chargers. I guess if I have to take a defense from one of these three teams, Denver would probably be my choice. I'd probably take Denver and then Los Angeles in that order. Andre says, is the Jags pass defense that bad? I see everybody smashing DJ Moore and Caleb Williams overs. They're pretty bad, man. They're pretty bad. And honestly, if the public is going that crazy on them, maybe the smarter decision is to go on the unders, just because it's an international game. But their pass defense has been very bad. In fact, I'm just going to tell you kind of where they rank right now. Caleb Williams, Jacksonville is dead last against fantasy football quarterbacks this year, which 32nd out of 32, you're horrible. Wide receiver wise, they are dead last. So Jacksonville is a cake matchup on paper. Whether that's going to come to fruition today or not, I don't know. But Chicago, on paper, it looks like they should have a very good day offensively passing the football. Anthony says, Waddle and a 26-second for BTJ, an overpay? No, I don't think it's an overpay. I think I'd happily give a 26-second on top of Waddle to get some Brian Thomas Jr. Icy, should I drop in Njoku for Schultz or Kmet or Otten? None of the above. I would just keep Njoku there. Fantasy Flow, love the channel and content, Andrew. I was hating on Swift early on, but obviously feeling good about him now. Think he keeps it up. Look, man, it's kind of tough. Honestly, I think after this week, I am probably looking to be selling DeAndre Swift if I can, because here's the thing. He's had matchups over the last 3 weeks. The matchups have been pretty easy. And in fact, they're still going to be easy for another couple weeks after the bye week. So maybe the idea is you sell him after his bye week. But Indy in week 3, he obviously didn't have a big game, but he got 17 touches in that game, so, whatever. Then Los Angeles, he was the RB3 on the week. Carolina, he was the RB3 on the week. This week against Jacksonville, very easy matchup. Next week is the bye week, and then you get Washington and Arizona in back-to-back weeks after that. He should still be good. A lot of the damage has come in the receiving game, especially in week 4, where he's getting 7 targets, 7 receptions for 72 yards. I think the issue that I have personally with DeAndre Swift is that I'm kind of looking ahead to my fantasy football playoffs, and I'm looking ahead to when it's time to be in crunch time and win some games here, can I rely on him? And I'm looking at his schedule, and pretty much from week 10 to week 17, all of these matchups are very, very tough for fantasy football running backs for the most part. You got New England, Green Bay, Minnesota will be on the schedule twice, weeks 13 and 15, so one of those being in the fantasy playoffs. You get San Francisco at the back half of the year, which is probably going to be a tougher run defense than they have been so far. Detroit twice in week 13 and 16, obviously a very tough run defense. And then Seattle, who's been pretty good in the championship week. I think Swift, we're at the point where, we've racked up a couple good wins. He's given us some good points. Maybe he'll give some again this week, which I have him projected to do so this week. It's getting to the point where, if I can flip him and buy somebody maybe of equal talent or a tiny bit lesser talent with a better fantasy football playoff schedule, that's probably something that I'm doing. So, obviously, he's been great. I feel great about him, too. I was high on him coming into the season, so it was sketchy early on, and now this is a little bit more of what I've expected out of him. But, yeah, he's a guy that I'd definitely be looking to sell as we get into the next week or two after his bye week in week 7. I'm trying to get him off the roster and flip for another running back. Josiah says Godwin or Smitty. I like Godwin more. Richard says Tyrone Tracy or Jerome Ford. Give me Tyrone Tracy. Andre says Braylon Allen or Antonio Gibson. Really need a running back with Kyron on a bye. Go Antonio Gibson there. We got a thank you. Mad Dog says PPR need 2 running backs, Bucky, Tracy, Najee, ETN. One flex between those guys, Amari Cooper, Kraft, or Goddard. Two running backs. So let's revert to the rankings here because we got a lot of guys being discussed. And what did you say? This is PPR? Yeah, PPR. So running back wise, Bucky, Tracy, Najee, ETN. Excuse me. So I got Bucky at 15, Tracy at 16, Najee at 17, ETN at 18. Literally, I have all these guys back to back. So my rankings at the moment, I would be going with Bucky and Tracy. You said a flex between one of those guys. I guess Najee would be the guy there. I would be benching ETN out of all those running backs. And then Amari Cooper, Pickens, Kraft, or Goddard. I would go Amari over Pickens and Kraft over Goddard. Got Kyron on bye, London and Higgins. There you go. So they are Mad Dog. Brian Bell says, need to start two running backs between Swift, ETN, Bucky, and Javonte. Give me Swift and Bucky in this situation. MD, flex, start half PPR, BTJ, Flowers, or Pickens. Bears have a banged-up secondary, and Washington is trash. Steelers are hard to predict in general. I would be going with Flowers in this situation. Josiah says, due to injuries, I only have Ayuk, BTJ, Shaheed, and Waddle at wide receiver. Pretty stacked at running back. I'm handcuffing Connor with Benson. Should I drop Benson for Rome? I don't hate it. The only issue here, Josiah, is you have the Bears on bye next week. So if you pick up Rome right now, you have to hold him through a bye week next week. So I think let him sit on the waivers this week. And next week he'll probably get dropped again because he's on bye. And then you can pick him up maybe after that one. So I wouldn't do it this week. Nick says, good morning, Andrew, Kyler, or Caleb. The Bears being international is making me second guess. Yeah, I still go with Kyler, I think, in this situation. Richard says Tyrone Tracy or Jerome Ford. We go with Tyrone Tracy. Who do I start between Dowdle, Tracy, and Gibson? Give me Tracy. Nick says, good morning, Andrew. Kyler or Caleb? Oh, we already got this one in the chat. Mike says, flex, Christian Kirk, Michael Wilson, Braylon Allen. Give me Christian Kirk. Josiah says, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Josiah. Dondre says, start two. Bigsby, Tracy, Dell, Moss, half point. I think I like Tracy and Dell in this situation. I would lean with those two guys. I think they have the most upside this week. All right, folks, we are at about the 30-minute mark. We are 30 minutes in. I got about 30 minutes left until game time. So as long as you guys still have questions, I'm happy to keep answering them. You know, we got about 30 more minutes. So as those questions come in, feel free to drop them in the chat. Love to answer those for you here. Brando says Eckler or ETN. Give me ETN. Brian Bell says, thank you for your help. I hate having so many guys playing this morning game. More Swift commit. Yeah, I feel that. I kind of hate having a lot of guys playing in the same game as well. I had that happen for me on Thursday night. I had a game in one of my Dynasty leagues where, let me just pull that team up. It was kind of a crazy situation. I had Brandon Ayuk, DK Metcalf, and George Kittle all play Thursday night. So I had 3 of my 10 starters all playing in one game. Kittle was fine. Ayuk, meh. DK was eh. is whatever. But that's kind of the range of outcomes sometimes. I think today in one of my leagues I have Caleb Williams playing, and I think I have Swift and ETN playing as well. So I'm with you. I have 3 guys in the morning game, which is a little bit sketchy, but I'm doing it just because I think that they're the best players available to play. I'd rather, play the best players all in one game rather than plug a lesser talent into the position just to avoid, being too pot committed in one place. Cato says, would you start Dowdle over Gibson this week for full PPR? Look, I've been toying with how I feel about Gibson all week, and I think really when it comes down to it, I still lean Dowdle. Even though it's a tough run defense, I still lean with Dowdle. I think there's a chance that they could mix some other guys in there in New England, so I would just stick with Dowdle. It's not a far gap in full PPR. I have Dowdle as my RB21 and Gibson as my RB23. Would you drop Coleman for Ridley? I'm assuming this is Keon Coleman. I think I probably would. I don't think Coleman is great. I don't think Ridley's great either right now. Well, Ridley's much better than Coleman as a talent at the moment, but the quarterback play is just horrible for Calvin Ridley. So I would probably still play Calvin, and he'd probably be the guy I pick up there. Quan says, hey man, should I flex Pittman or Keenan Allen? I'm leaning Keenan because of the matchup for Indy. Yeah, I probably lean Keenan Allen in this situation as well. Pittman is sketchy. He's red flag written all over him right now. Drish has start 3. Olave, McLaurin, Deontay, Devontae, DJ Moore. So I want Devonta Smith and DJ Moore. And between Olave, McLaurin, Deontay, in a PPR league, I'm assuming, I'm going to roll with Deontay. I'm going to roll with Deontay Johnson. So Deontay, DJ Moore, Devontae. Luke says, I know all tight ends have been bad for the most part, but I have a lot of shares of Kincaid. What's your feelings on him rest of the season and in Dynasty? I mean, he's still a hold. I think he's super talented. Obviously, the offense has been a little bit weird without, Stephon Diggs. They're still kind of learning their offense as well, but he's a hold. He's still one of the best tight ends, I think, in football. One of the most talented and a young guy still. So in a Dynasty, you hold on to him rest of season and a redraft. I don't really know how valuable he is, but because nobody is valuable at the tight end position, you can still hold on to him. Boston Mottos, appreciate you with the super chat. We got a $1.99 super chat right here from Boston. He says Slayton or Wandell or both. I got Neighbors and Rice out. I think you can play both if you need them. When you're looking between the two, I prefer Wandell over Slayton this week, but I think you can play both of them. Both of them are fine plays, especially if you need to plug somebody in. So, yeah, man, appreciate the super chat, and I would play both of them if you feel like you need to. They're both fine plays. Brent says Brian Thomas, Evans, or Deontay in a standard league is tough for Deontay, so I think I go with Mike Evans. Cato says appreciate it and have a good one. Appreciate you, Cato. Anthony, Dynasty half point. What do I do with Engram and Njoku Kraft? Okay. Half point PPR. What do you do in a Dynasty league with these guys? I think this week you play Kraft over the other two. Kraft is a really good play this week. Long term, in Dynasty, what do you do with these guys? I think you're at the point where you can kind of move one of them. And I think the guy that I would be moving might be Engram if you can get some value out of him. But today, this week, you're starting Kraft over Engram and Njoku. Kyle says pick one PPR, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir if he plays, or Dobbs. So I don't believe Khalil Shakir is going to play. Don't quote me on it, but I just don't expect him to play. I have him in a lot of leagues, and I'm playing guys on Sunday and not risking and waiting for Shakir. Now, that said, I think Dobbs is a better play than Keon Coleman, so I would just play Dobbs and not risk Shakir playing because he's the best player out of all of these guys. He's the guy I'd be the most comfortable in, but because of that, not really knowing whether he's in or out, I think I just play Dobbs. Also says pick one full PPR, McBride or Fergie. I like McBride there. I like McBride. Carl says full PPR. I need to start one running back and 2 flex. Dowdle, Mixon, Olave, Pickens. Let's go with Mixon. And then the 2 flex, we're going to go Olave and Pickens. Quan says, appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you, man. John says, yeah. We'd love to see that. It's A-Rod says, Eckler versus Baltimore or Amari Cooper against Philly. Give me Cooper. PPR for the question. Still Cooper for me. Flash Ride. We got a full PPR deciding between Caleb A-Rich at QB and Odunze Antonio Gibson at flex. Thanks. I would go Caleb over A-Rich at the QB. And because I'm going Caleb over A-Rich, it kind of makes me want to do the Odunze stack with Caleb and get the extra upside there. But I think overall I have Gibson higher than Odunze in my rankings. So I think the smarter play is to go with Gibson and Caleb. But I'm pretty intrigued by the Odunze Caleb stack this week. Josiah says, where do you see yourself finishing in our idiot or finishing in idiot league mates? In my opinion, Sexy's hating in those power rankings. Well, Sexy been hating, man. Look, here's the thing. I understand too, though, because the power rankings are supposed to be meant to be on a week-by-week basis. So my team has been just, like, absolutely destroyed. I mean, I was looking at my team last night, actually, and, like, when healthy on paper, it's supposed to be really damn good. Let me just read you the roster on paper, because on paper it should be Mahomes, Herbert, Saquon, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Brooks, Puka Nacua, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Khalil Shakir, Tyler Lockett, TJ Hawkinson, and Pat Freiermuth. So, you know, when we're healthy, when we're on paper, that's a really good team. Like, that's a team I think that's one of the better teams in the league. But the thing is, we haven't been healthy. So in his power rankings, you know, he keeps saying we're banged up, we're hurt. He doesn't like it, whatever. He's not a fan of some of the guys. Like, the guys in that office, they don't like Diggs. They don't like Joe Mixon. They don't like, you know, DeAndre Swift. They don't like anybody. You know, really, if it's not on their team, they hate them. That's whatever. They lean into the content. It's fine. But overall, the team's fine. I see myself finishing as a playoff team. I mean, I got Jack and Joe in my division, and so far those guys' teams haven't proven to be very good. I know that they're, you know, a game behind me or 2 games behind me, but the issue is they've been healthy. And I've been banged up, and I'm still a better record than those guys. And so, yeah, where do I see myself finishing? I see myself being a playoff team, man. I'm not worried about it too much. Like, I just think I'm a locked and loaded playoff team by the end of the year. And, you know, once you get into the playoffs, it's any given Sunday for sure. So, as long as we're healthy, as long as we can get healthy here in the next couple weeks, which Hawkinson should be back, Mixon's back this week, Nacua is a couple weeks away, we should be okay. So, not too worried about that roster. But I'm glad you think he's hating too, because when I saw him put me last in that first power rankings ever, I was like, damn, Brody really hates the squad. And then the second week he moved me up 1 spot. Whatever, I'll take the pity spot, only because I think he moved Nate all the way down. Still not sure how Jack's squad is ranked higher than me in the power rankings, but whatever. I digress. Chavoy says, hey man, finally found your page after watching your guys weekly over at BDGE. Well, I appreciate you, man. Help me out here. James Cook or Tracy, standard. Love your guys' work. I would be going with James Cook here. So James Cook is my play there. George says pick 2, half PPR, Chase Brown, McConkey, Slate, and Olave. Go Chase Brown and I think Chase Brown and Olave for me. Carl says thank you. Thank you, Carl. T-Train says Connor or Brian Thomas at my flex. I like James Conner. Full PPR, start ETN or Eckler. Let's go with Eckler. Actually, let's go with ETN. My apologies. Again, dude, I think this morning more than normal, I just keep reading the question and then I'm just saying one of the names. I'm trying to give you the real. So, ETN. It's too early for this shit, man. All right. Zamir White considered a long shot to play today. Okay, we knew that, though. Where are we at? Brandon. Good morning, man. Full PBR, Kraft or Bowers? I would go Bowers. And Kyler or A-Rich? I would go with Kyler. Sean Randall says pick 1, full PPR, Cook or Bigsby. Usually a no-brainer, but Cook has been limited in practice with his toe injury. Yeah, I think I still go with Cook over Bigsby. Just make sure that in order to game plan, for tomorrow, you pick up either Ray Davis or Ty Johnson. I think it's going to be a mix between the two of the guys if he's out, but I think they're kind of going to be equivalent to what Bigsby is if Cook is out. So I'd go with Cook. Make sure you pick up one of those guys to just plug in if he doesn't go. Full PPR, Ferguson or Olave. I think this week you go Ferguson over Olave. Keon Coleman or Trey Tucker. Give me Trey Tucker. Brandon says, I feel you on your team not being healthy. I look at it as reinforcements coming in. I have AJ coming back this week, and I'm waiting on Chubb, Hawkinson, and Kupp to come back, still 3-2. That's how I feel, man. That's stay afloat through the injury, and once, the injury bug passes, it's time for you to go crazy, So I definitely agree with that. Eli says Kirk, Tracy Jr., or Ingram in the flex. Full PPR, pick one, please. Let's go Tracy Jr. in the flex. Adam says Bigsby, Dowdle, or Chase Brown. Also Devontae or Wandell. I would be going with Devonta Smith over Wandell. And for the running backs, between Dowdle, Chase Brown, and Bigsby, I'm assuming this is PPR. And if this is PPR, let me double check the ranks. We're going Chase Brown. Chase Brown over those guys. So that is the move for me. Brandon says, hesitant to play Mike Evans because of Lattimore always clamping him up. Should I play Pickens or Williams or ride with the old man? Yeah, I mean, there's narrative, right? There's narrative there, and I talked about that in an episode this week, but I'll just tell you kind of how I have these guys ranked. I'm tempering the expectations for Mike Evans, but I still have him as my wide receiver 20 this week, and that's tempering the expectations. Now, that said, Jameson Williams, I have him as 26, and then who's the other guy that we're talking about? Jameson Williams or Pickens? Pickens I have as 29. So I would still be going with the old man, as you called him, Mike Evans. But obviously, you're tempering these expectations. So if you want to be really safe, I think Jameson Williams probably has the safest floor of these guys this week. But obviously, Mike Evans still has the boom potential still. And I would, according to my rankings, he's the highest. Jacob says Ingram or Freiermuth. I would be going with Freiermuth. Anthony says thank you. I appreciate you, Anthony. Brandon says got introduced to your page by Caleb and love the content, bro. Keep it up. Well, thank you, and thank you to Caleb for introducing you to me. Happy to have you over here and happy to have you in the chat. It means a lot. Thank you. Josiah says, do you think Jay Brooks smashes down the stretch? I think there's going to be a period, man, where it's kind of a messy backfield because Chuba's played great, but I think you got 2-3 weeks maybe where they're kind of a crossover. They're going to ramp up Jonathan Brooks, but I think he has the opportunity to really be a league winner in your fantasy football playoffs if he's getting the majority of the workload by that point, which he probably should be, or at least seeing 60% of it or 70% of it. If he is, he's going to be really good. Dave Canales has always just had good running backs in fantasy football for some reason, so I definitely think he can smash down the stretch. Zachary says full PBR, pick 2, Keenan, Tracy, Pitts. I'm going with Tracy and Pitts. Full PPR, Kincaid or Pitts. Kincaid. Jacob says Ingram or Freiermuth. We already answered that one, I think. Jonas says greetings from Germany. Greetings from Germany? That's pretty cool. I was going to try and be smart and say hello in German, but I don't think I know that. So good morning to you. Who to start full PPR? Ingram versus Ertz, Lawrence versus Richardson, Dowdle versus Chase Brown. Okay, so I would be going with, in order, Ingram over Ertz, Richardson over Lawrence, and Brown over Dowdle. Flowers or McLaurin? Give me Flowers. Josiah says, what order do you think the NFC North finishes in? It's a good question, man. I mean, just knowing what we know now, I think it would be kind of a cop-out to say. Honestly, dude, let's pull it up because I'm trying not to sound like a fan, but I think the Vikings are going to win the North. I mean, I hate to sound like the fan, but I think that's just the way it's going to go. I'd say Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, in that order. That's the way that I would go with it. But it's probably close between Green Bay and Detroit the rest of the way. But I think Minnesota finishes number 1. There's a 2-game lead at the moment. Andre says, half PPR, few questions. You start 1, Dowdle, Bucky, James Cook, Laporta, or Bowers. Okay, so it's 2 questions really here. Start 1 of each. Dowdle, Bucky, James Cook. I go James Cook, and then Laporta or Bowers. I go Bowers over Laporta. Matt says, I got offered Brees and Mooney for Saquon, half PPR. Need a wide receiver because Rasheed went down. Brees and Mooney for Saquon. I don't think this is the deal I'm doing. I think you can get a better wide receiver, and Saquon is that dude. So I don't think I'm doing this deal. Unfortunately, I know Mooney's been productive at points, but yeah, I'm not doing this deal. Ronnie says, need 2 running backs and a flex. Full PPR. Cook, Monty, Dobbins, Bigsby, Swift, and T. Higgins. 2 running backs. It's Cook and Monty. Actually, you know what? Let's go with Swift and Monty just because of the Cook injury. So let's be safe here. We're going to go Swift and Monty, and then T. Higgins is going to be the flex. Nahal says, start 2, James Cook, Dobbins, Bucky, Tracy. We'll go with Cook and Bucky. Also, should I flex one of them instead of Dell? The only one I would consider would maybe be Tracy over Dell, but I think I'd still rather go Dell. Thoughts on this trade? Ford, Pacheco, and Bowers for Dobbins, Brooks, and McBride. Ford, Pacheco, and Bowers for Dobbins, Brooks, and McBride. Yeah, I'd just rather have the Dobbins, Brooks, and McBride side of the deal. Eli says, started 0-3, now I'm 2-3 and have a 75% chance to win this week due to Kittle going off. All with having Waddle on my bench because Tua is out. Once he's back, these boys are cooked in my league. You love to see it, Eli. Andre says, it's the Lions division, bro. They run it now, dog. Yeah, C. Kirk says, feeling good about Ingram this morning. Other option is Schultz. I'm very much tempering my expectations with Ingram. It feels crowded and it's a bad defensive matchup, but over Schultz, I don't know. Schultz ain't great, but I kind of think I lean Schultz over Ingram. I think I agree. Thanks, brother. No worries. MHJ or Neighbors in Dynasty? This is the question. This is definitely the question. Marvin Harrison Jr. or Neighbors in Dynasty? They are so damn good. Both of them are so damn good. I think based off of the production we've seen, you have to have Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr. But in a bubble, if it comes down to having to buy one of these guys at cost, Neighbors is going to be more expensive, so I'd rather just buy Marvin Harrison at cost because I think they're equal talent. So that said, pure in a bubble, looking at the rankings, Neighbors is probably ahead of him right now, but Marvin is that dude as well. Yo, question, fellas. Start 1, Cousins, Caleb, or Daniel Jones. I'm starting Kyler in Superflex full PPR. So I would go with Cousins there at the quarterback, and then start 1 and flex 1. Shaheed, Cooper, Slayton, Pollard, and McConkey. So we're going to start Cooper and Pollard there. So start 1, flex 1 there. Caden says Brian Thomas or Mooney. I think I'm going Mooney. And if it's a full PPR. If it's full PPR, it's Mooney. Zah says start 1 defense. Colts, Titans, Bucks, or Falcons. I think I'm going to go with the Titans. Kraft or Goddard? Give me Kraft. Standard League, I have Godwin, Andrews, and Likely at tight end. Should I drop one to add TJ Hawkinson, who's available in free agency? I think so. I mean, I would drop one of the Ravens tight ends to get TJ Hawkinson. And if you're dropping one of the Ravens tight ends, I think honestly right now, Andrews is probably the one who's droppable. So yeah, I would drop one of the Ravens tight ends to pick up Hawkinson. Caden, we already answered that. Jan says Irving or Eckler. Give me Irving. Chasing the back-to-back. Start one, full PPR. Marvin Harrison, McLaurin, or Darnell. Give me Marvin Harrison Jr. Eli says, holy shit, that's hard. What was the one we were talking about? What was hard? Standard League, I have Goddard, Andrews, and Likely. TJ Hawkinson is available. Would you drop Likely or another tight end to add TJ? Yeah, definitely. I think we did answer that, though, that way. I have Goddard, Andrews, and Likely. Hawkinson is available. Would you drop Likely or another tight end to add TJ? I mean, I think... Oh, he said Godwin. Now he says Goddard. Okay, so I think Goddard is the guy that I would drop over Andrews and Likely. I don't think rostering 3 tight ends, though, is feasible. Like, I'd rather have a wide receiver if you can drop one of those. Like, I'd rather go TJ Hawkinson and Likely or Hawkinson and Andrews the rest of the way and just see what happens. Connor says Bigsby or Lazard. Give me Bigsby. Keith says Fields or Murray. Give me Kyler Murray. Also pick one between Deontay, Wandell, and Shaheed. Give me Deontay Johnson. Big Bills guy. Bigsby or Chase Brown. Give me Chase Brown. All right, folks, we do got about 5-10 minutes left. So final call on these questions. About 5 minutes left in the stream. And then we'll get on out of here. Let me answer this one. All right, a couple more questions. Here we are. Josiah says, do you think Patriots pass catchers become relevant this season with May? Love me some Polk. I think they have a better chance of becoming relevant with May under center. Polk, DeMario Douglas, those would be the 2 guys that I think are front runners to become fantasy relevant. But Polk, definitely, he's the most intriguing of the 2. I think DeMario Douglas could potentially have some PPR appeal and a full point. But yeah, there's a chance that they become a little bit more relevant this season with Drake May under center. I liked May as a prospect. Nate says, good morning. Start 2, Montgomery, Eckler, Dobbins. Give me Montgomery for sure. And then I think between the other 2, just give me Dobbins. Olave or JMO. They're pretty much the same type of play. In a PPR format, I'm still going with Olave over JMO just barely. So give me Olave. I'm just going to ride with the rattlesnake. Spencer Rattler. Pick one. Brian Thomas, JK, Mooney, ETN. I think you go with Mooney here. Sermon or Moss? I don't love either. I guess Sermon is the guy that I go with. Tracy or BTJ for the flex half-point PPR. I'm going Tyrone Tracy. I hate that we're fading BTJ so much, but Jalen Johnson coverage is going to be so tough. But I think Tyrone Tracy is the way to go. Greg Dortch or Roshan Johnson. I would rather go with Roshan in that matchup. And then Sonny says Wicks or Tolbert this week PPR. So we're still waiting on whether or not Christian Watson is going to be able to go. If Christian Watson can play, and if he does suit up, you're going with Jalen Tolbert over Dontavion Wicks. That said, Wicks versus Tolbert, even healthy, I think it's still Tolbert. I went and did that spiel, and I think it's Tolbert for both sides of the question. So just give me Jalen Tolbert there, Sonny. Caleb says early in the morning. Damn straight. We've been up, man. We've been grinding. So, but Caleb, it's early in the morning. It's time to wrap this stream up. You know, we're at 55 minutes. We got a couple minutes until game time. Let's give it just a short amount of time left. Couple more questions. Throw those questions in. I'm gonna try and speed run them. I'm gonna try and speed run through them before we get on out of here. Couple minutes, but last call. Throw the questions in the chat, folks. I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes, 1 or 2 more minutes to get those in. After that, we cutting it off. You can still ask questions though. I'll plug the Discord. You guys can still ask questions though later this morning as we get the injury reports and some of the other stuff that are gonna come out. That can be asked in my Discord. My Discord is free to join, linked in the description. I will try and be in there this morning for a little bit of time, and then we can just go there and ask those questions. So linked in the description. It'll be linked in the comment section. Free Discord, free to join. You can hop up in there and ask those questions later this morning as well. But here are the final questions that we have coming into the chat right now. We will answer these. Caleb says Moss, Mixon, Swift, PPR, pick 2. It's Mixon and Swift for me. Nick says Sermon or Najee. Give me Najee. Josiah says, do you have any tough start sit decisions this week yourself? Yes, I think I do. One in my league particularly. Let me pull this one up. One that I was debating on was where are we at? Where are we at? I'm trying to pull up my league. Sorry, folks. So Tyrone Tracy, I was debating between Tyrone Tracy this week and waiting on Khalil Shakir. I was waiting on Tyrone Tracy and Amari Cooper as well. I'm going with Tyrone Tracy, though. He's the guy. I'm not going to wait on Khalil Shakir. I'm going to play him over Cooper, I think, this week. Might still try and find a way to flex Cooper into the lineup, but Tyrone Tracy was a tough decision that I had to make for a second. Also, if I hear an OSU this morning, I'm flying to Jersey. We already talked about it earlier this morning, Caleb, so, you know, maybe you just don't want to scrub back. We talked about, you know, the slide. Rams says Dynasty, full PBR, 1.75 for tight end, Superflex start 11-12 team. I'm 3-7 lineups. Kyler, Caleb, Justice Hill, Jaleel, Rome, Ladd, T, McBride, Hawk, Reed, Ayuk. I had JSN and Polk too. Try to trade Ladd, JSN for Rice. I don't like to consolidate when I'm trending towards a rebuild. 3-7 is not in rebuild territory yet, but I'm not trending towards contending at the moment. I don't know if I want to do the JSN and Ladd for Rice. You can wait on that. I guess really in reality, it's not a bad deal if you want to consolidate. But having Rome, T, Reed, Ayuk, I guess you're good enough at the wide receiver position that you can consolidate. So I don't mind. It's a fair deal. If you can get that done, go get that done. But typically when I'm trending towards a rebuild, I don't like to consolidate. Kortrick says Adonai or Judy. Give me Adonai. I think he's going to profile a little bit more as the big play guy downfield. And I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough with A-Rich. He definitely could go out there and give you 0. If he gives you 0, you know, I would not be surprised. Judy's not going to give you 0. So let me go back. Let me just go back, Kortrix, and let's talk about this a little bit more. Because Judy is the floor play. He can give you 5-10 points every week. If he gets into the end zone, I guess you can maybe get, you know, to 15. Adonai, I think he's the boom play, but his floor is 0. So depends on what you need in the lineup. I guess more as I talk about it, the more that I want to say, you know, chase that floor of Judy, just because when you're plugging a guy like this into your lineup, you just need some points. Unless you've already had the ability to have some guys go off already on Thursday night or something. It's tough, though. I think Adonai has the higher ceiling. Judy's the higher floor. Rico or Moss, give me Rico. Sonny says, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you, Sonny. And we're getting towards the end here, folks. I will get through these last few questions and we'll log off. Shades says, Dobbins or Dowdle. Also, Pitts or Kraft. in a standard. Give me Dobbins over Dowdle in standard, and give me Kraft over Pitts in standard. KJ says full PPR flex spot, play Mike Evans with Lattimore or Zach Moss. Still give me Mike Evans. Porter says start Mixon. I mean, it depends on who you got on your team, but I definitely like playing Joe Mixon this week. I'm comfortable playing him if I have him. Rico or Sermon, full PPR. Give me Rico. And that's the last question of the day, folks. So I appreciate you guys being here. Game is starting at the moment over in London, Chicago, Jacksonville. You guys are the GOATs. I appreciate you being here, hanging out with me this morning. Even though it was nice and early, we've been trying to get the caffeine in the system. Long day of football ahead. As always, as I mentioned, if you have any other questions, go to the Discord. The Discord is free to join, linked in the description. I already saw we had some people jump in the Discord already, so go join that. Lots of people to talk to in there, ask questions, get some advice, get some opinions. You can also ask me whatever you want, whenever you want, 24/7, 365. I don't have to be live for you to ask me those questions. It's a really cool community, really dope community, and like I said, it's free to join, so there is no risk in doing that. Last but not least, folks, hit the like button if you haven't already. If you've been hanging out with us this morning, chilling, talking some football. I see we got 60 plus people in the chat right now, it looks like. Hit the like button, man. Let's run that thing up. Let's get over the 50 mark. That would be dope. Hit the subscribe button. And Josiah says good morning or good luck today and thanks for the help. Nick says thanks for the help. May the fantasy gods be in your favor. Anthony says good morning, gents. I guess he's yawning and just barely getting up. Deontay or Bucky, give me Deontay. And Tunchi, I can't leave you out. Dell, Sermon, or Brown. Give me Chase Brown in this situation. So there you go, folks. That is it. I will see you on the next one. But until then, peace out.